Hello, this is Richard Pears from Finextra TV, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Truman Semans, who's the CEO of OS Climate. Hello and good afternoon to you, Truman.
Hello, Richard. Thanks for having me.
Well, listen, we're delighted to have you on board, and as everybody knows, we're very interested in sustainable finance. We're interested in the digitalization of technology and data to inform the sustainable investment process. And I was introduced to you by a mutual friend of ours. We had a fantastic conversation. And you've got a very broad-reaching vision and agenda. And I wanted to get that, out to the Finextra community. So first of all, tell us a bit more about your background, which is fascinating, and then we'll get into the company.
It's fascinating if you're a wonk for sure.
Well, okay, call me a wonk.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, for the last 26 or so years, I've been working in a range of different sectors, but all at the intersection of sustainability and business, finance, and economics, and using data-driven approaches to find better real returns. And let's say risk-weighted returns. Still appropriate if you think about economic development. So three main chapters of that. Started in NGOs and then the government, and ending up in the 90s as the lead on global environment at the U.S. Treasury and the finance lead on the climate negotiating team, the U.S. climate negotiating team, back in the early days, still the early days of UNFCCC. After the Clinton administration, I went into management consulting, and first with McKinsey, and then built up a firm called Green Order that was really one of the go-tos in helping corporations to understand and look forward across scenarios to understand how environmental performance could be a driver of growth and profitability, and to make decisions around R&D and product development and big capital projects accordingly. And so worked with GE, GM, large utilities like Duke Energy and National Grid, large chemicals companies, Dow and Sabic, and many others. And then more and more over the course of time. So sort of back in my early days, sort of climate and investing was maybe a very early stage venture thing. And by the aught years, it was starting to be a space where you wanted to bank. There was a lot of banking opportunities, a lot of later stage financial opportunities. So more and more of our consulting clients were financial institutions or funds that were looking to develop products to finance the space or investment strategies. And all along the way, my teams have been developing models right up to the very end of what's possible in Excel. I mean, literally these massive things that took weeks to run, to run a few scenarios, and sort of hit the wall there. Fortunately, right at the time that there are these massive breakthroughs in data science and in cloud computing and bringing down the cost of storage and whatnot, which led to this most recent chapter of envisioning and moving toward a much better data and analytics for climate-aligned investing. So that's what we focus on now.
Fantastic. So let's talk about it. It's good to know that background, because you've gone through the sort of the hard years of policy and lobbying and so on and so forth. Now, where you sit, in this vision of OS Climate, tell us, what is that? What's its vision? How does it unpack?
So, at the simplest level, the vision is to take the community-based, collaborative, open source approach that has been really transformative in the tech sector and in the life sciences sector, and bring that to this perennial challenge of better data and better analytics for climate integrated investing.
Well, beautifully put. So you take that vision and you use those methods, which we talk about a lot at Finextra, and that collaborative, agile approach, many different data sources using cloud, building new data models, getting better insights. How are you actually convening as a company in terms of bringing that together? Is it a private company, private funded? What's the construct behind all of this, and what are you trying to achieve?
Yeah, great question. So, fortunately, we are able to take a page out of the book of the Linux Foundation, which is the largest convener of these initiatives in the tech sector, and the most successful, arguably, of those. OS Climate is a nonprofit. And actually we're in the process and going to be announcing shortly the intent to launch LF Climate Finance. That'll be an entity, a 501c6 business nonprofit under the Linux Foundation. Like all these projects, the basic business model is one where corporate members, financial sector, and data and analytics providers and others in the space become members of the 501c6. They pay in annual membership fees at various levels that correspond to different governance rights. But one of the big differences is from a normal business association is that everything they create is a public good. It's not held closely. One of the core purposes of all these Linux Foundation initiatives, and it's very similar in the life sciences space around vaccine discovery, is to basically create a space like a Switzerland where competitors can find common ground and share intellectual property and cost and knowledge and resources to jointly build the layers of technology and data that they all need and that no one needs to reinvent. So it's very much about preventing real reinvention, freeing up resources in the community for specialized activities in the development of special financial products, analytic products, et cetera, on top of that stack. And basically becoming a force multiplier by being able to tackle pieces of the challenge of that platform of data and analytics that are just too expensive and complex for almost any firm to handle individually.
Right. So if we look at that and we say, you take the compute, storage, and networking, that comes from pretty much any cloud provider these days. They've done that force multiplier for you. You've then started to bring together the particular data and data models that are needed to inform this, climate, SDG, natural resource kind of, set of issues. And that's allowing the data models, if you will, to be specified specifically into that particular area, and then you're helping translate that ? To things like the EU taxonomy, so that then the investment manager or somebody can actually build off of your work to make a better decision, or where does it stop and where does it move off to private and proprietary, or does it always stay public and for good?
It's great. Also, great question. So there's a bit of variation on the two technical sides of the OS Climate platform. So one is a data commons. The other is modeling and analytics. There's not really a bright line there because there's a lot of tooling and piping, as you know, that sort of and flows back from the models onto the data side. So. But the answer is a little more pure on the data side. And actually, we're stand by. I can't blow the reveal, but we've got a big announcement coming in coming days about efforts to develop an MVP together with some really major players, which we're excited about. In any case, though, so the vision there is something that is very much a public good that is available, where there's an increasing amount of data available, prioritizing the factors that are highly material when it comes to climate aligned investing, according to the frameworks of TCFD, SASB, CDSB, taxonomy, et cetera, and to create a place and a space for community-driven development to fill up a library with a front end that is made easy to use and understand and find what you're looking for by using those very same frameworks. So the first of those that we'll pilot will be the SASB framework. The aim is to have that data commons as flexible and available for derivative uses as possible. However, we also, though, want to federate not just public data, which is very and where there's going to be a long series of projects to extract and refine data coming from public sources and make that available, but also to, for example, when you go to the scope 3 emissions for X sector box on the front end, and you click on that, we also want to give the option by federating to commercial providers that if you've got a license key, you can pull that data through. If you don't have a license key, you go to their paywall. So that one of the clear messages from literally 120 plus interviews is we can't find what we're looking for. We can't find the good data we want. A one-stop shop. Okay,
so are you going to do a job on data provenance? Are you going to sort of do a this is gold, silver, bronze quality thing going on there, or are you just passing it through?
That's also an interesting question, and the answer is definitely yes. But how we do that, how we go there, is going to be a community-driven decision. We've got a couple of options that we put on the table for the governance to make a decision on. Most likely that'll be some combination of, for certain kinds of data, it's going to be worth the money to use Hyperledger to do that. But that's too expensive and also too carbon intensive to do for everything, right? So that'll be one. But we also, and this is a bit of a departure from the typical sort of it's not like the typical tech open source project where is actually having community rating and use and metadata there. So we definitely anticipate doing that. Again, we don't want to second guess what the governing board of LF Climate Finance will decide.
Right. So you're providing the play space and the convening space, and that's going to attract the aggregation, and then obviously you're going to learn and iterate as you go through it about the quality, the speeds, the feeds, etc. So it's going to be a learning process. When's this all? I mean, it's all kicked off clearly, but in terms of people being able to see a space, be able to get involved in it, what's your kind of timeline?
Great question. Well, I mean, actually, with the good graces of being selected by Science Based Targets Initiative, along with Ortec Finance, to build the finance tool, WRI, WWF, and CDP are sort of helping to, are in developing this tool for SBTI, are also creating something that we will integrate into the platform. And one of the reasons I think why they selected the team of OS Climate and Ortec Finance to do this is because they really wanted this thing to be open source and for to create the opportunity for that to be further developed. So tools for climate aligned investing already underway. Literally in this current week, we're firming up the development plans for the minimum viable product project of the data commons. What we come out with there, because it's a multi-year view toward what we're doing there will really be an MVP. But we anticipate it being able to demonstrate uses. Narrow examples, i.e. not broad coverage of uses right out the bat for a couple of investment processes and building beyond that. And we anticipate having that MVP ready for community feedback in the fourth quarter. We're announcing some, well, as I say, I don't want to blow the reveal on announcements on the process of actually formalizing the community and standing up LF Climate Finance, but watch this space in coming days and you'll find out.
And is that the answer also to, where can people go and where can they sign up to learn more? Is it kind of watch this space on the website?
Oh, great question. Actually, that's probably one of our weaker points. We haven't really been set up for come and get it for information. But that's something that we will be doing more of in coming days. We'll have also some we've had sort of very heavily subscribed webinars, and we will continue to do that. We'll have a couple of those upcoming in association with Climate Week, so that's a great way to sort of get that information, and we'll drive people to more clearly to particular aspects of information. Most importantly, though, for asset owners, asset managers, banks that are interested in being a part of this community and having a say and a role in governance and making sure that the platform it focuses on their priority use cases, they should literally reach out to me directly, and our team will set up the time for them to learn about it.
Amazing. So we're going to come back to this clearly. Let's say in a year's time, I was saying, what does success look like? What are you hoping for?
So in a year's time, we hope not only to have a much more fulsome prototype of the data commons up and running and populated with very considerable coverage, not only of company data, but physical risk data, some of that enabling data like security master file data, things like that. But then also to have completed the other part of what in open source circles would be known as a kernel on the analytics side. So there with Ortec Finance as the implementing developer, pulling together some very robust, fully tested in-use technology, but combining it in basically a constellation of multiple scenarios. So inevitable policy response, NGFS, and probably one or two others, informing a combination of bottom-up and top-down modeling for scenario analysis to understand how factors affect portfolios and companies, and the ability to run portfolio analysis. So that's all realizable in that year timeframe.
Wonderful. Well, look, I'll give you our best wishes to make that happen. Anything we can do to help, of course, let us know. We'll be keeping in touch and letting everyone know what's happening. But in your very busy schedule, thanks for sparing us time, and look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thanks so much for having me, Richard. I appreciate it.